Hi, welcome once again to M5's English language learning program, Let's Speak English. I'm Gav Duncan and I'm here on your TV screen to help you learn English. Now, are you sitting comfortably? Yes? Good. And are you ready for today's lesson? Yes? Good. Okay, well, let's learn English together. Well, welcome one and welcome all. Yes, we're back in the house. Well, not really in the house. We're in the studio. But it's sort of a house. So yes, we are in the house. And we're here, waiting for you. We've been waiting to start the lesson. So it's good that you're here. Okay, so here we are, ready to get started. Ready to begin. And what are we doing? That's right. We're revising. Yes, we're in the middle of a major revision period. We're revisiting things that we first saw a long time ago. And we're checking that we know everything about them that we need to know. So, are you ready? I said, are you ready? Good. You're ready. In that case, come in. Come in. Come into the studio and let the lessons begin. Now, last lesson, we looked at the comparative form of adjectives, and we had another look at the spelling of comparative adjectives. We learned that the spelling depends on the length of the adjective and how many syllables the word has. Now, in lesson 59, in week 12, in the 59th lesson in the 12th week, we also looked at opposite adjectives and how to spell some adjectives and comparative adjectives. Great! Well done! Fantastic! So, now that we managed that task, let's think about opposites. So, what's the opposite of easy? Well, there are two possibilities, hard and difficult. So, what's the opposite of easier? Well, hard is a short adjective. It's only got one syllable. So how do we make the comparative form? Good. We add ER. So, hard becomes harder. Great. Now what about difficult? Well, difficult is a long adjective. How many syllables has it got? Difficult. 3. Difficult has got 3 syllables. So how do we make the comparative? Good! You remember, we put more in front of the adjective. So the comparative form of the adjective difficult is more difficult. Okay, what about the adjective cold? What's the opposite of cold? That's right. The opposite of cold is hot. And what's the comparative form for the adjective hot? Well, it's a short adjective. It's only got one syllable. So how do we make the comparative form? Good. We add ER. But wait a minute. Hot ends in vowel plus consonant, doesn't it? So what happens to the end of the adjective when we make the comparative form? That's right. We double the last letter. Okay. So the comparative form for the adjective hot is hotter. Okay. Now, what about the opposite of better? Aha! This is an irregular one. Do you remember that the comparative form of good is better? That's right. And the comparative form of bad is worse. So, the opposite of better is worse. Well done! Let's think about the opposites of these adjectives and then make the comparative form for both adjectives. Cold, hot, colder, hotter. Tall, short, taller, shorter. Good, bad, better, worse. Easy, hard, easier, harder. Easy, difficult, easier, more difficult.
Now, in lesson 60, in the 60th lesson, there was a roundup of the relationships we learned about. Aunts and uncles and nieces and nephews. And we also practiced using comparative adjectives to describe the differences between the children of the Benchfield family and using than when we use comparatives.
Okay, now let's combine what we've learned this week, the Benchfield family and the comparatives. Right, let's get it on. Okay, let's see some information about the Benchfields. Let's start with the kids. Mabel, Mabel, if you're able, get us the info in a table, please. Okay, so there's the table. Now let's make some sentences about the Benchfield kids using comparative adjectives. Whee! Okay, let's think. We should start with Tim. Tim is 14 years old. John is 9 years old. This means that Tim is what? That's right, Tim is older than John. Good. Now, what about a sentence about Tim and Elizabeth? Tim is 14 and Elizabeth is 30. So, Tim is also older than Elizabeth. Okay, we're on a roll. Tim is 14 and Doreen is 12. So Tim is older than Doreen. In fact, Tim is older than John and Elizabeth and Doreen. Great. Now, let's have a look at Doreen. Doreen is 1 meter 49 centimeters tall. She's 149 centimeters tall. Okay. Elizabeth is 1 meter 57 centimeters tall. She's 157 centimeters tall. This means that Doreen is shorter than Elizabeth. Using the information in the table, we can see that Doreen is shorter than Tim, but she's taller than John. Great. And what about Elizabeth? Well, look at the table and we can see that Elizabeth is older than Doreen and she's also older than John. Elizabeth is younger than Tim. Fantastic! Cadbury's cream egg, Yorkie bar, Monster Munch, Skips, rhubarb and custard, scampi and lemon knickknacks. Okay, onwards, gods of English. Let's have a look at John Benchfield. John is younger than Tim. John is younger than Elizabeth. And John is also younger than Doreen. John's brothers and sisters are all older than him. John is shorter than Tim. John is also shorter than Elizabeth. John is shorter than Doreen. So, John is shorter than his brothers and sisters. John's brothers and sisters are taller than him. Okay, so let's have a quick recap. We often use than after comparatives. I'm taller than Moddy. Moddy's younger than me. Usually we say than me, than you, than him, than her, than it, than us, than you, and than them. So, I am taller than him. He is shorter than me. We can also use other forms. I am fatter than you. You are slimmer than I am. Usain Bolt can run faster than I can. We often use more than and less than. How much did your watch cost? 10,000 forints? No, more than that. More than 10,000 forints. How long is the film? 1 hour. No, less than that, less than 1 hour. You go to the pub more than me. He goes to the pub more than we do. We can also modify the difference when we use comparative adjectives. We can say that something is a bit bigger or much bigger than something else. I am 46. My granny is 96. She's much older than me. I'm 46 and my friend is 45. I'm a bit older than him. He's a bit younger than me. I weigh 96 kilos. My nephew weighs 46 kilos. I'm much heavier than he is. Canada is much bigger than Hungary. I can run 1 kilometer in 4 minutes. You can run 1 kilometer in 3 minutes 50 seconds. You can run a bit faster than I can. Tim Benchfield is 14. His sister Elizabeth is 13. So Tim is a bit older than Elizabeth, and Elizabeth is a bit younger than Tim. Tim is 14 and John is 9. So John is much younger than Tim and Tim is much older than John. Elizabeth and Doreen are 13 and 12 years old. So Elizabeth is a little bit older than Doreen and Doreen is a little bit younger than Elizabeth.
All right, now, when we started week 13, we made sure that we didn't panic. For the gods of English, there is no bad luck. We, the gods of English, make our own luck. And what do we say to people who think that 13 is unlucky?
What do we say to people who think that 13 is unlucky? Well, the best thing to say is, you, my friend, are talking piffle. That should stop them. Tell them that you are a god of English and point out that gods of English make their own luck. So stop talking piffle. And there, unfortunately, we'll have to leave things. Yes, that's right. We're at the end of today's lesson. We've run out of time. So that's all the revision we're going to cover this lesson. But don't worry, don't fret, don't panic. We'll be back to satisfy your appetite for the English language tomorrow. Where? On your TV. But on which channel? On M5, of course. And when? When? Don't tell me that you've forgotten. In the afternoon. So I'll be here. In fact, we'll all be here. Me and the crew. We'll be here and we'll see you. Same time, same place, tomorrow, M5.